In the ancient village of Digumba lived a young woman named Adora. She hailed from a lineage of guardians tasked with the responsibility of protecting and safeguarding a mystical basket. For generations, this duty had been passed down from parents to their firstborn child, each successor inheriting not only the responsibility but also the bond with the basket. Unbeknownst to Adora, she was under a curse. The curse had been unleashed after the disappearance of the magic basket, plunging her lineage into untold sufferings and hardship. Adora's days were filled with strange occurrences and unexplained misfortune. There were days she got so depressed that she lost consciousness of her environment. On those days, she would find herself lost in familiar streets, forgetting her way home. Her crops always withered no matter how well she took care of them, so she was forced to take up odd jobs to make ends meet, instead of experiencing the joy of working the land. Now, Adora was a sweet and gentle maiden of pure heart who had a deep connection to the natural world. Her mother died during childbirth, and her father was bedridden with a debilitating illness that left him frail and weak. Adora had taken on the responsibility of caring for her father, so she worked tirelessly, cooking, cleaning, and nursing him. But despite her efforts, his condition only seemed to worsen. The village healers did not know what was wrong with Adora's father, but they gave her herbs. They did not have enough herbs, and the ones they had were very expensive. Most of the villagers whispered behind Adora's back, and even though she tried to ignore their whispers, they still stung. They spoke of a curse that had plagued her family for generations, but Adora knew nothing of her family's past, or the magic basket they whispered about. To her, it was just superstition and an excuse for the hardship they all faced. The entire village was suffering. Everyone had a story to tell. Their crops were dying and their livestock were falling ill. It seemed as if the land itself was cursed, and Adora wondered if the whispers were true. But every time those thoughts burdened her, she pushed them aside and focused on surviving and nursing her father. To Adora, the whispers were a constant reminder that her family was different, and she did not know how. Now Amifuna, the king of Digumba, was a good man who had the interest of the village at heart. He passed a decree that whoever finds the basket and returns it to the palace would be granted a single wish. Akira, his wife and queen of Digumba, was displeased by the decree and confronted him. "How could you be so foolish?" she asked angrily, her face masked with displeasure as she confronted King Amifuna. King Amifuna, who was seated on his throne, looked at her with a calm expression. "What are you speaking of?" he asked. "Your Majesty, the decree you so rashly proclaimed earlier today still echoes in my mind. You declared that you would grant any wish to whoever finds the basket. You did not pause to consider the potential chaos that could ensue. Your words were spoken with haste and without foresight. And now, I fear we shall all be forced to suffer the fallout of your impulsive decision." Queen Akira spoke with trembling. But King Amifuna was not moved by her words. His shoulders rose in a nonchalant shrug. "I sought to inspire our people, to rekindle the flame of hope in their hearts." "What is wrong with that, Akira?" the king asked, his tone mixed with defensiveness. On hearing this, Queen Akira's eyes narrowed, her face showing a mix of fear, and as she talked, her voice hinted that she was skeptical about the king's decision. "Amifuna, you are offering the throne itself as a prize. What if an ambitious soul claims the basket and asks to usurp your throne? What then? Will you simply hand over your crown, abandoning your duties and your people?" Queen Akira asked. But King Amifuna's countenance remained steadfast, his eyes unwavering in his resolve as he declared, "I am indifferent to who claims the basket or the nature of their heart's desire. My sole aim is the liberation of our village from these sufferings. We are on the brink of collapse, Akira. Our people languish in hunger, our lands lie barren and fruitless, and I am willing to sacrifice anything, including my throne, if it ensures the salvation of our people. I will not stand and witness the extinction of our village. You speak of duties, Akira, but to whom will I perform them if our people perish? For what are duties without a people to serve?" The queen's countenance softened, and her anger evaporated as she heard the king's words. "My king, my fear for our future is palpable. Yet, as ever, I shall stand steadfast by your side. Our son, Our bright and capable prince shall join the quest for the basket. May the land smile upon him and guide his steps." The queen said with determination. She smiled weakly when the king nodded in acknowledgement. Now, the entire village had begun the search for the basket. Hunters searched the forest. Farmers searched their lands. Some of the villagers searched in groups, some searched individually, while some searched with their families. As the villagers scoured the land, their minds raced with visions of what their lives would be like if their deepest desires were granted. Some pictured themselves wielding powerful magic, while farmers imagined farms overflowing with bountiful harvests. The possibilities seemed endless, and the villagers' excitement soared. But amidst the excitement, competition crept in as each person secretly wondered if they would be the one to find the magic basket and claim their heart's desire. None of the villagers knew what the basket looked like, but they all assumed they would know if they saw it. Only Adora seemed to know what the basket looked like. The king's decree made her wonder if her dreams were more than just coincidence. You see, Adora was 17 when she started to hear whispers. The basket could sense her pure heart and inherited connection to the natural world. "Come to me. I've waited for too long," the basket would whisper. But Adora did not know the voice. So each time she heard whispers, she dismissed them as figments of her imaginations. She had long forgotten the whispers and the vivid dreams of her childhood. In those dreams, a radiant basket had beckoned her, but she could not follow it. As she grew older, the dreams faded, replaced by the harsh realities of life, and she dismissed them as products of childish imagination. Yet, the memory of the basket lingered. But now, Adora was driven by a sense of purpose and was determined to uncover the truth behind her childhood dreams. She was convinced that her dreams held the secret to finding the magic basket, so she made the bold decision to join the search. With a heavy heart, Adora walked to her father's room. As she approached his bedside, her heart grew heavier with the weight of her choice. She knew leaving her father would bring hardship for the both of them, but she had already resolved in her heart to find the basket. "Father, I must speak with you," Adora said with a steady voice as she sat down on the chair beside his bed. "I have made a decision. I know that this will be difficult for both of us, but I do not want to ignore the path that has been laid before me. I am going in search of the magic basket, Father," Adora announced to her father. Adora's father looked up at Adora. His eyes were sunken and his voice was low as he talked. "I am glad you have decided to do this. My daughter, find the basket, for it is our only hope," Adora's father said weakly. He knew the truth about the curse, but his frail body and weakened state prevented him from sharing the burden with his daughter. "Papa, I will return and—" But her father interrupted her. "Adora, I need you to search for something under my bed," he said. Adora was doubtful and did not think there was anything under the bed. "Father, I clean your room every day. If there was anything under the bed, I would have found it a long time ago," Adora said. But her father insisted, and it surprised her. "Bedstand. You will find a dream catcher," he told her. Adora did not know what a dream catcher was supposed to look like, and she also did not understand why her father would have a dream catcher. But even with the doubts and questions, Adora grabbed the lantern on the drawer, knelt and bent down to search the bed. She scanned the bed stand and her hand felt around it. Suddenly her hand brushed against something. It was a tiny door with a hook which she opened to reveal a small compartment. Inside the compartment was a hoop. The hoop was covered with a web-like pattern of threads and decorated with beads and shells. It was the dream catcher. Adora put her hand inside the compartment to pull out the dream catcher, but as her fingers closed around it, she saw a vision. In her vision, she saw hands weaving a basket from delicate threads. She tried to look at the face and owner of the hands, but she couldn't. The hands belonged to a woman, but her face was covered by a shadow that hid her features. Only her hands were visible, and they moved with grace and precision as she wove the threads into an intricate pattern, and the threads glowed with light, as if infused with magic. Adora suddenly felt a jolt that ended the vision and transported her back to reality. Her eyes widened when she realized what had happened, and her mind started to race with different questions. Who was this woman? Why was she crafting a basket? Is that the magic basket? What does this have to do with me, or this dream catcher? With all these thoughts and questions, Adora looked at her father, hoping to get answers to the questions, but his eyes were closed and he was asleep. Adora knew she had to find out more to unravel the mystery of the dream catcher, the woman, and the basket. So Adora walked quietly out of her father's room and to her neighbor's house. She would beg the neighbor to take care of her father, as she could not leave him by himself. As she approached the house, she saw Mrs. Coco, her neighbor, locking her door. It looked like she was going out, so Adora walked hurriedly to her and stopped her. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Coco," Adora greeted. "Adora, how are you?" Mrs. Coco asked. "Please, Ma, I need your help. I want you to watch over my father. I must find the magic basket, but I cannot leave him by himself as I embark on the search," Adora pleaded. Mrs. Coco looked at Adora with concern. "Adora, even the great hunters of the village have not found the basket. What makes you think you can find it? The king's promise of granting any wish to whoever finds the basket has driven many to madness and anger," Mrs. Coco said as she tried to dissuade Adora from embarking on the quest. But Adora was resolute, and nothing could change her mind. "I have to try, Mrs. Coco. I must find the basket because it is the only way to save my father. The king's promise is clear. He has said that he would grant the wish of whoever delivers the basket to him, and all I want is to end my father's suffering and see him healthy again." Adora's eyes shone with determination as she said these words, but her heart hid the secret that her dreams were also driving her to find the basket, but she did not say this to Mrs. Coco. Mrs. Coco was pleased with her words and agreed to help her. "I will take care of your father until you return, but please be careful wherever you go," Mrs. Coco said in response to Adora's words. Thank you, Ma. I am grateful you have agreed to do this for me. At sunrise, I shall set out for the search, and I promise to return," Adora told her. Then Mrs. Coco nodded in agreement and gave Adora an encouraging smile as Adora started to walk back to her house. Now, Adora spent the rest of the day packing a few things that she would need for the journey. Adora packed water and food, including nuts and fruits. She packed charcoal, a knife, the dream catcher, a lantern, garlic, herbs, and spices. She had no idea where to start the search, but she knew she had to try. As night fell, Adora lay down to sleep. In her sleep, she was transported to a dream world, and in her dream, she found herself standing in a vast, open plain. As she stood there, she saw a figure approach her, but she could not see its face. As the figure drew closer, she saw it was an old woman. The old woman had a kind face, and when she talked, her voice was soothing. "Adora, daughter of the forest, I have been sent to guide you on your journey. You seek the magic basket, but do you know where to find it?" the old woman asked Adora. But Adora shook her head as she did not even know where to start her search from. So the old woman gave Adora an instruction: go to Zuri Forest. Seek out the ancient trees and listen to their whispers. They will guide you on your path. After the old woman gave Adora this instruction, the dream faded. Adora woke up with determination. Her heart raced with fear and excitement as she remembered she would start her journey that morning. You see, Zuri Forest was said to rest on the edge of the village and known to be treacherous. It was rumored that the forest could change its path, making it difficult for hunters to navigate through it. The forest was also rumored to be home to dangerous creatures that even the bravest hunters avoided. But the old woman's words echoed in Adora's mind and urged her to push forward. That morning, after Adora was done setting her house in order, she carried the bag she had packed the previous day, and then she started the journey. But before she did that, she went to her father's room, and as she approached his bed, she saw that he was asleep. Her heart swelled with love and determination as she watched him. Then she took his hand into hers. "Goodbye, Father," Adora whispered. "I'll be back soon with the magic basket," she said. Then she held his hand for a moment longer before she quietly left the room. As Adora made her way through the village, she prayed inwardly that Mrs. Coco would watch over her father. She prayed she would be successful in her journey and that she would return with the basket to save her father. When Adora reached the edge of the forest, she paused for a moment and surveyed the forest. The forest was worse than the rumors said it would be. The trees formed a dense canopy for the forest, and they were so huge that their branches tangled together in an intricate web. Adora was frightened at the sight of the forest and contemplated going back to her father's house, but she pushed the thought aside, and with a deep breath, she stepped into the forest. The trees seemed to close in around her, but she remained rigid and refused to be intimidated by the forest. Her senses were alert to the sights and sounds of the forest, and she started to walk through the forest in search of the basket. For days, Adora wandered through the forest, searching aimlessly for the basket, all to no avail. She used the knife to clear a path and also killed a snake with it. The dream catcher was her source of motivation. When she was hungry, she ate the food, and when she was thirsty, she drank the water. She used the charcoal to mark rocks along the way, and she rubbed the herbs and spices on her body to deter snakes and other animals. On the fourth day of the search, Adora settled onto a rock. She was exhausted and frustrated. She was not making any progress, and she did not know what dangerous animals were in the deeper parts of the forest. She also did not know if garlic or the other herbs she had on her could frighten them away. "I've had enough," Adora mumbled as she gazed at the dense forest. "I'll never find that basket," she said with a sad voice. As Adora sat there, her mind wandered to a lot of things. Suddenly, she remembered the old woman's words. "Seek out the ancient trees and listen to their whispers. They will guide you on your path." As she remembered this, she was filled with hope and immediately felt strong. She stood up from the rock and began to survey the forest again. She saw that some of the trees looked older than others, so she began to follow them, smiling as she did so. Adora knew she was on the right path, and the joy of that knowledge became her companion as she walked through the forest. Now Adora walked until she reached a massive tree. It was bigger than all the other trees she had seen. The tree was taller and had a twisted trunk. Adora was drawn to the tree, so she walked towards it. As she got nearer, she heard a voice. "Follow the stream," the voice whispered. Adora turned to see who talked, but she found no one. Then she realized that the tree itself was talking to her. She was scared and wanted to run, but she stood her ground and watched the tree. Then she bowed as a sign of respect to the tree. So the tree spoke again, and this time, Adora heard it clearly. "Follow the stream. It is the safest path," the tree said. Adora smiled at these words, for they were a confirmation that truly she was on the right path. She found the stream and walked along its banks. She traced the stream's serpentine path, and the stream's tranquil flow became her new companion as she walked. The sweet fragrance of wild flowers imbued her with peace as she walked. Adora walked until she started to hear the sound of water cascading over a rock. The sound grew louder as she followed the stream until she found its origin. It was a waterfall. As Adora stood before the waterfall, her heart raced with nervousness. She took a deep breath as she stepped into the water. The water was cool and refreshing, but that feeling was soon replaced by haste. For instead of emerging on the other side of the waterfall to continue in the path of the stream, Adora found herself in a mysterious cave. The sound of the waterfall was muffled, but she was now in a new territory. Adora had gotten comfortable with the forest. She could identify edible plants and avoid poisonous ones, but she was not prepared for a cave. She lit her lantern and hurried forward to escape the cave's darkness to avoid becoming a prey to any creature that might lurk within. Her lantern cast flickering shadows on the wall as she hurried forward, and her gaze began to settle on the intricate carvings that adorned the walls of the cave. There were symbols on the walls, and there were also images. As the light danced across them, Adora's curiosity got the better of her. She slowed her pace and began to trace the carvings. The carvings told a story. It was the tale of Digumba's birth and tragic loss of the basket. You see, many years ago, a wise and powerful sorceress created Digumba. Her name was Zuri, and she had chosen the land for its sacred energy. Zuri created the magic, multiplying basket to ensure the village's prosperity and abundance, and she wove the basket with materials from the forest. Her descendants became the guardians and conduits of the magic basket, and for generations, the basket was passed down through the village kings, each king tapping into its magic to maintain the balance of the community and to bring wealth to the community. When the kings used the basket for good, the guardian's connection to the basket amplified the king's intentions, which allowed the magic flow through the kings. But if the basket was used for selfish purposes, the guardian's connection was weakened and caused the magic to fade. One king used the basket for selfish purposes. He multiplied items for a fee and polluted the powers of the basket, and gradually, the magic of the basket began to fade. The guardian of that time warned the king of the consequences, but his words fell on deaf ears. The king, angry that his authority was being questioned, ordered her execution and imprisonment of her family. On the day of the execution, the villagers watched but did nothing. Some of the villagers had items they wanted to multiply after the execution, so they wanted the execution to happen with great speed. I order for them to have those items multiplied. Then a great storm came. The land was angry and caused the storm, which swept through the entire village and ended the lives of the members of the royal family. Only one man of the royal family was spared. Properties were lost and other lives were also lost. The basket disappeared in the chaos, unleashing a curse on the village and the guardian's descendants. The villagers, realizing their mistake, searched far and wide for the basket, but it was nowhere to be found. Zuri Forest was searched, but the forest only messed with the minds of the hunters who had been sent to retrieve the basket. It changed its path every now and then, preventing them from finding the basket. So the villagers mourned their losses and rebuilt Digumba, but Digumba was no longer the same. The thriving village stopped flourishing and began to decline, and stories of the magic basket were told to children over bonfires. As Adora gazed on the carvings, questions ran through her mind. What is the curse? Why is the forest leading me on this journey? What is the significance of my visions and dreams? She wondered, but the carvings had no answer to her questions and drove her further to uncover the truth as she continued her journey through the cave. The silence was oppressive and scary, but Adora pressed forward until she finally emerged from the mouth of the cave. She blinked hard as rays of sun hit her eyes. Warm breeze filled her lungs, and she saw that the forest stretched out in every direction. The stream continues its path through the forest. So, Adora extinguished her lantern, stepped forward, and continued her journey following the stream's path by its banks. Adora knew her journey was far from over, and that the forest had only just begun to reveal its secrets. So she walked until she got to another ancient tree. This tree stood tall along the banks of the stream. At the base of the tree, there was a small pool of tranquil water which nestled among the roots of the tree. The pool was surrounded by a ring of moss and wild flowers, and it had a melody that drew Adora to it. As Adora touched the water's tranquility scattered, and a vision came to her. In the vision, Adora heard a faint voice. This is the curse. Digamba will no longer thrive. The land that once gave abundance will wither and decay. The land will forget its fertility, and the soil will forget its richness. The plants will forget their vigor, and the curse of lost harvest will haunt the land. To the guardians, you will suffer. Your crops shall shrink and perish. Your seeds that once sprouted with hope will rot in the land. Your lineage will suffer from the weight of your failure, and in suffering, your memory of the basket's secret will fade, and your connection to the basket will dwindle. You will roam the land, but your identity and purpose will be hidden in darkness. In your prime, ill health will torment you until you die. This curse shall stretch through generations until the basket is restored and the heart of the village is renewed. Adora saw a procession of faces as the voice spoke. Each face faded into the next and looked directly into her eyes. The faces grew familiar with each passing moment, and she started to feel like she knew them. The vision continued until Adora saw her father, then she saw her own face staring back at her. She gasped, shocked by the intensity of her own gaze, and the vision dissolved, leaving her breathless and bewildered. Adora staggered back as realization dawned on her. I am a guardian. Adora shouted. It all makes sense now. The village, the curse, the dreams, the visions, everything. This is why I cannot grow crops. This is why my father's condition defies herbs. I understand my father's words now. Find the basket. It is our only hope, he said, but he did not tell me why. Adora's eyes widened as she realized the weight of the curse and the responsibility that had been placed on her shoulders. I will end this curse, she screamed. So, Adora dusted her clothes and made to continue her journey. Suddenly, a faint light appeared, illuminating a narrow path that was hidden by bushes. Adora was certain the basket wanted her to find it. Without hesitation, Adora set off on the new path. The new path led her through a thicket of thorns and figs, and she carefully used her knife to trim them off. She followed the path until she got to a cleared area surrounded by ancient stones, standing with trees that were nothing like the ones she had seen on her journey. In the center of the cleared area was a huge stone, and the basket was on the stone. Adora smiled widely as she saw the basket, but as she stepped into the clearing, the forest grew treacherous. The trees began to twist and turn until they completely surrounded the basket and blocked it from view. Adora tried to cut through the blockage, but the trees only twisted more. She tried to climb the trees, but they immediately grew thorns. Adora immediately knew they were the protectors of the basket and only wanted to protect the basket from the hands of selfish men. So, she knelt and offered a prayer. Ancient ones, I, Adora, guardian of the basket, bend my heart and spirit to your ancient might, seeking forgiveness for the wrongs of the village. We erred and strayed away from the path of balance. We neglected the basket's grace, and we suffered greatly for this wrong. Please accept my apology for the harm we've done. My heart is pure and my intentions are true. The curse that binds us, I seek to undo. Grant me passage that I may fulfill what my ancestors pursued. As Adora spoke the final words of this prayer, the trees stirred and in their branches rustled as if they had been waiting for that moment of acknowledgement and apology. With a gentle creaking, the trees parted their branches, creating a pathway for Adora. Thank you for your forgiveness and guidance, Adora said as she stood up from her kneeling position. As she entered the path, she gazed in wonder as she approached the basket. The basket's beauty was breathtaking. When Adora touched the basket, she was enveloped in another vision. She saw her ancestors gathered around her, their faces filled with smiles and love, and she saw a prosperous Digamba. When the vision faded, Adora found herself back in the clearing. She knew she was smiling and great peace rested in her heart. The basket was clutched in her hands, and she felt a surge of energy and determination. She could now return to the village. The forest was no longer covered with dense trees and bushes. It was serene and no longer awfully quiet. She could hear the melodies of birds. The animals seemed peaceful and did not try to hurt her. As she emerged from the forest, she saw a figure approach her. It was the king's son, who had been searching relentlessly for the basket. Adora's grip on the basket tightened as she saw him. "I have scoured the entire village for this basket. I searched every corner, and yet it is you, a lone woman, who holds the basket," the prince said with his voice laced with frustration and disbelief. "I have lost good men on this quest, men who trusted me to lead them to victory. My mother's words echo in my mind, urging me to find it at all costs. And now, I find it in your hands. Fate is cruel, it seems." The prince's eyes narrowed and his gaze intensified as he took a step closer to Adora. Adora's heart raced like a drumbeat in her chest, and her fingers tightened around the basket's handle as if it were a lifeline. Fear surged through her veins, but she stood firm and determined to not surrender the basket, no matter the cost. Thanks for watching. If you made it to the end of this video, congratulations. I really appreciate you. If you enjoyed this story and would like a part 2, comment part 2 in the comment section and subscribe to the channel so you would be the first to be notified when I drop a new video.